In this Inventor tutorial, we are going to be learning how to make some chess pieces. Chess pieces look really complicated, but using Inventor and a few simple tricks, we can make these super easy. We're going to start off making a pawn or a bishop if you end up adding this notch. We're going to go up to File and New. Now remember, yours might look a little different as you're creating a new one. That's okay. Just make your new file how you have in the past, or raise your hand for some help. We're going to click Start 2D Sketch and pick a surface. Again, these surfaces for these parts don't really matter. All right, how are we going to do this? We need to model out this pawn. And this is what the pawn looks like in 3D. But we can get a hint of where this is going where we view it side on and only half of it. What we find here now is there's a profile which can be revolved around to give us our pawn shape. Going over to my part, I'm going to start with the rectangle tool, and I'm going to throw in a few boxes. I'm going to first throw in my stand on the base. My dimensions for this aren't really particular because I can make it however I want it to look and then scale it later. Alternatively, you could start with dimension mine where I want all my chess pieces to be 40 millimeters tall. Both are valid. I'm just going to make it look how I think it should look and then scale it later. All right, I'm going to make a base maybe like that big. Then up a little bit, I'm going to make that little fun collar thing. And yeah, that looks all right. I've got two boxes. Now I need to connect them. Chess pieces aren't really good at levitating in between themselves. I could use a line tool or an arc. Based on the look I'm going for, I'm going to use an arc. I'm going to click somewhere on that box and somewhere on this box, and then draw the arc how I like it. I want it to be kind of a gentle arc, so that's all I really need to do. I want to round off these edges. Maybe I'll leave that one flat, but I want this one to be a little rounded. I think it looks nice when they're round. So I'm going to click once, click again to make the other end of my circle, and I can inflate it as big as I want, but I just want it to just be tight enough to round it over. Lastly, I need to make a circle. And I could do an arc and draw, one point, another point, and hope it looks right, but I might get a weird lump in it. So instead, I'm actually going to use my circle tool. I'm going to click somewhere on the middle line that's going to be cutting my pawn in half and making my circle. I can make it as big as I want. If it's not where I want it, I can hit the escape key, click circle again, and maybe move it down a little bit. That looks pretty good to me. I don't want it to just perfectly kiss it. Just barely touch the top right there. Because there's going to be no support. There's going to be no strength there. I need them to overlap. So I'm going to let them overlap. Cool. At this point, all we're missing is a line right here to cut the whole thing in half. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to start at the top of my circle, draw a line all the way down to get to my bottom. That will make this a closed shape. I'm going to hit Finish Sketch. Now that I have a closed shape, I can click Revolve, and I can click all the profiles I want it to spin around. Notice that I missed one in here. I made this a little tricky for myself. If you wanted to, you could edit your sketch and use the trim tool to remove some of these lines we don't need. And there we go. Finish sketch. That looks super clean. All right, revolve. Again, trimming them is optional as long as you're willing to click all of them. For my profile, I'm going to click the shape I drew, and then when I click Select Axes, I'm going to choose the line that is my center point. There we go. We now have a chess piece. I can hit OK. All right, I'm super happy with my chess piece. However, I want to turn it into a bishop. And there's not really a great flat surface for me to start my sketch on. This is where we can once again use the plus next to origin and find a plane that we can see. All right, so my XY plane cuts it in half in a way I can see right here. So I'm going to click Start 2D Sketch and then click on XY plane. Now I'm going to use my line tool and I'm going to draw in the cut I want it to make. That's pretty much it. I'm going to change my view so you can see what I did, but this model doesn't have to be super particular because it's going to be small, and I'm going for a look rather than something that needs to fit. So as long as it fits on my chessboard, I'm happy. I can say Finish Sketch, and when I click Extrude, I'm in a bit of a conundrum. I don't want it to go one way. However, I do want it to go the other way out the other side. Under Direction, I can say Default, Flipped, or Symmetrical. I just need to make sure it's big enough that it cuts all the way through. And then make sure I select under Boolean, Cut. We can preview, see what's happening, and then say OK. There we go. We just went from a pawn to a bishop. Nice level up, buddy. Let's make a different chess piece. Let's try making this king. This king is going to be a very similar start to our last pawn or bishop, but there's going to be one major difference: the crown on top. I'm going to make a new project, and I'm going to make a sketch. The king is a taller than it is wider piece, so I'm going to think about that as I'm starting. I'm going to start with some rectangles. I'm going to draw my base out. I'm going to come up a ways, and I'm going to give it a couple necklaces. I don't know. What do you think those things are that they always put on the king right below the top? Feel free to put that down in the video description. Just kidding, you can't leave comments. I'm using some arc tools to round this out and to make it look fancy. And then some arc tools to kind of bring this all together. I'm going to use a line tool here because it doesn't really need to be a curve. And now I need to make that top bit. Going back to my original part, you can see that if I move it so you can only see half of it, it's got kind of a curve and then a straight bit. I'm going to do that same look. So I'm going to put a little arc, give it a little bit of a curve bit. That looks good to me. And then give it a bit of a square bit. All right, it's super important to know that right now, if I were to hit Finish Sketch, I wouldn't be able to revolve this. I'm going to show you that. But don't hit Finish Sketch yet. All right, when I hit Finish Sketch, see how that line disappeared? When I click Revolve, I can only revolve bits of it. I can't revolve the whole thing. So before we finish, we have to make sure we do that line down the other side to connect all the bits together. Because I'm slightly neurotic, I'm going to get rid of a few extra lines that I don't need. This step is optional. You can just add all those profiles. Finish Sketch. There we go. I'm ready to revolve. Select the surface I want to revolve, and then select my axes. Just like in my last drawing, my axis is going to be the line, the last line, in fact, that we drew along the edge. Wow, look at that. I get a great look at it. You probably don't want this, but you could make a chess piece that is like only 25% there. How weird is that? It's only a quarter chess piece. All right, but I want 360 chess piece. I'm going to smash OK. Now to do the crowns, it's going to be slightly tricky, but super easy. I'm going to start my 2D sketch, just like always, and on the top surface. Okay, I'm going to start with my circle tool, because I need to first draw out some of the geometry I'm going to be using, because this sketch doesn't have any geometry, even though I can see stuff here. If I click my circle, and I kind of zoom in a little bit, this happens to be the center of my circle. So I'm going to start my circle there, and then I'm going to come out to the edge. And I want to come out to the edge that is going to actually be the edge of the crown, which is my top layer. If we look at the side, it's a little easier to see. Then I want another circle, but in a little bit more. Now, occasionally you'll get these black circles popping up through your drawing. What those are is those are saying they are matching something that you can't see right now. That can be super useful. For this, I don't really care. I'm just making it however big I want it to be. All right, so that's how big it was. I'll make it right there. All right, I now have an inside circle and an outside circle. I now need to cut this up into even chunks that will go around. I'm just going to give you a number because it'll make life easier. We're going to start with a line, start from the center point, and go straight along one of these axes to the edge. Then I'm going to draw, I'm going to click to finish my line. Then I'm going to start again from the center point to another point on the edge. I didn't measure this, but I'm going to measure it now. I need this number to be a multiple of 360 because a circle has 360 degrees. Now, don't worry. We're just going to type in 36. But I happen to know that that's a good number. 36. 360 divided by 10 is 36. Believe it or not, that's all we need for this sketch. I'm going to smash that finish sketch button, come out here and click extrude. I'm going to extrude just that little tiny section we drew. Comes on up. Oh, this little bit of circle got missed. I could go back and edit my sketch, but I'm not going to. I get to choose how tall I want it to be. Yeah, that looks great. I'm going to say okay. Now you're thinking right now, Mr. Hill, do I have to do that like somewhere between 1 and 360 more times? The answer is no. We have a tool for that. We're going to come up and we're going to click circular in this pattern selector. And then I'm going to select my feature. The first thing, the mouse defaults to feature, and I'm going to click the extrusion we just did. Now I need to select my axis of rotation. There is no axis easy for me to click here, but don't worry about that. If we click origin, and then we can hover over these axes here, X, Y, and Z, and see which one is coming right up through the middle of my model. And for me, it's a Y-axis. Once I click that, all of a sudden, it has filled in the rest. We can change this. We could change this number to like 4. And look at that. It evenly spaced them around. We could change it to 6. And it evenly spaced around. So you get to pick whichever crown you think looks the best. I think 6 looks fine. So I'm going to smash OK. When I hit OK, it will repeat that same feature all the way around. How nifty is that? Okay, we have made 3 different chess pieces in this tutorial. I can't wait to see the screenshots of what you made that you're going to turn in. Well, edit that one out. I should edit that out too. Edit that out too. Edit it all out. Just edit it all.